Yes, we are finally on. We are
Good.
live.
All right.
Fantastic.
That's
We made it.
amazing.
Sorry, guys. We had, again, technical difficulties. We had about 23 people working on it, and it only took them 10 minutes. But we're on. We are on. Thank you, guys. Good team effort. Sorry, I wanted to, give something positive to the troops.
That a boy.
All right. So, hey, Mr. Walls. All right. We can see some comments. That's great. Um, anyway, task super shows upon us. We're going to be there.
We are.
Few days. I was afraid to give the day out. I didn't want a crowd at the airport.
I know. Don't tell everybody. Don't tell them what time we're getting there. We already have. I mean, I think 3 security guards would be enough, but
right,
we'll have to up it.
And I'm traveling with Silverman, so there's another 8 more security guards for him.
That's right. That's right.
So, anyway,
you guys should wear hats.
Oh, I'm going to be wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Mask, glasses.
Oh boy. Good.
And my gi.
Yeah. Then for sure no one will recognize you.
Right.
Do you ever have a parent? Hey, remember back in the day when you were teaching, and then you'd see somebody in the mall, and the parent and the mom would say, like in front of the husband and the child, like, "I'm not used to seeing you in clothes." I'm like, Mrs. Smith, let's rephrase that. You mean you're not used to seeing me in street clothes?
I do remember that. Yeah, it's happened a lot. Now it's the opposite.
Right. Never seen you.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Before. I was gonna. The reason I'm stalling is I've had worse things said to me from.
Oh yes, you have. Or children in front of their parents.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, so hey everyone, let's just. I just want to make sure that. That we are on. I know we're live. I just want to see where we're at here.
As you guys, as he's looking at that and everyone's settling in, you guys will be able to see the agenda on the board behind him. So we'll be able to cover all those things today.
There it is, guys, right there. I'm working out of. Well, I'm not working out of, but I'm in Mr. Metcalf's office. Mr. Metcalf is the one who does all the graphic design. You can only see. Just
like the scribbles on the board.
But there's a lot more stuff over here you can't see up there. But anyway, Master Sardoni is on. I tried calling you back, by the way, buddy. So hey, here's the one thing I was going to tell everybody, whether you're going to the Super Show or not, because this is a big deal, I think, in our culture, not just in our martial arts industry. But people seem to jump on when they hear somebody reinforce the belief system that they have. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean by that? So, like, if I go to the Super Show and everybody,
were you asking me?
You do that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tess.
No, I don't understand what you're saying. So why don't you explain?
Thank you, Tess.
Sure.
No, what I see, and I see it every year at the Super Show, right? You could have 10 speakers, and you can have somebody go to 9 speakers that are saying A, but you went in believing B. One speaker will say B, and you're going to be all with that speaker, and you're going to jump on board with everything that they say because they have reinforced what your belief system is. And I'm not saying that's always a bad thing. I'm just saying that you need to recognize that, number one. And if you can think of any examples, you could share it. But number two, here's the other thing, and this includes us. Some of you may like the juvenile humor that Tass and I have, the lightheartedness, we try to get the job done, but we try to have fun doing it. Some of you may enjoy that banter, and then therefore we have a huge My Elite group. There's a lot of people in our consulting. But also, don't get enamored by certain speakers that might have, that are very good at speaking, that have charisma, that know how to articulate or communicate. and then just start taking notes blindly without questioning the whys behind it, because I see that every year at the Super Show as well. Even with my own staff or my own team in the past 20 years of the Super Show, they'd come out of a seminar, oh my gosh, I took all these notes. When we review the notes, I would ask them, why do you think this is better, than what we do? Or sometimes it is better, right? But you got to always ask yourself the why. Don't get enamored with me, with Tass, with any speaker, and just start taking notes and believing blindly. Pay attention to what your goals are and what your focus is. And here's the deal. I will just say this. Our focus, right, and my elite's focus is to grow your business. Period. End of story. Grow your business. Not change the way you teach, not change your curriculum, not change your belt system, not change how you do testings. It's on the business end on how to structure and systemize a business to make you more profitable and to make anyone involved in your company, your team members, more profitable as an employee or a team member, and you as an owner. Period. End of story. And if you're not into that, or if you have a belief that I don't believe money goes hand in hand with the art, with martial art, that's totally fine. But also just listen to everybody. If you're going to the Super Show, listen to what everyone has to say, take it back, and then take it step by step and digest it. See what makes sense to you. I didn't say see what you believe, right? Or what reinforces your belief. See what makes sense to you. I don't think anybody necessarily can come and tell us what we teach doesn't work, because they would be wrong. They would be wrong on that. Just like I think I can't tell somebody else that it doesn't work for them. But what we do is try to do what works for everyone everywhere. And the only way we know that is from consulting people one-on-one all over the world and knowing that we're getting the same results no matter where people are. High-income areas, low-income areas, dense populations, sparse populations. We've kind of come up with a system from the industry, not from us, from listening to what works for the guy in, I'm going to use the real term because I've said this before, in Minooka, Illinois, where there are dirt roads and blinking lights outside of a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot facility that he pays $350 a month in rent, to a person in a dense area in California who's paying $10,000 a month in rent for the same size school. Well, in order to help people, we got to know what works everywhere, right? But the Super Show's upon us. You're going to hear a lot of great speakers. But then don't just change everything that you do because you heard something that I said, he said, or anyone said at the Super Show. Make sure you understand the reasons why. And then, Tass, you can elaborate too on anything I said, but specifically, you bring this up a lot. You say people will go and get bits and pieces of great ideas and then just try to put it into their school, and they don't understand that those bits and pieces are part of a bigger system, and then they wonder why it doesn't work.
Yeah, they are. And look who's out of Facebook prison, Mandy. she's out of Facebook jail.
Congratulations.
Actually, yeah, there you go.
Good, great to have you back.
She's out of Facebook jail. I think she had to start a new account. At any rate, yeah. Listen, and I want to say this without like throwing anybody right under the bus, but I think what happens sometimes is whether we go to the Super Show or we get Success magazine or whatever it is, and we're thumbing through the magazine or we're listening to speakers, and there's this new thing, right? And that new thing could be you name it, right? There's a bazillion different things out there. And the promise behind that new thing is it's going to generate you X number of students, and I'm just gonna say it, right? I don't even know who it is, so this is an example, right? And I'm not saying it's not a great program, right? But I think there's like a whole Ninja Warrior course that you can do in your martial arts school as an example. And for some schools, that may be a great additional ad for you, right? Additional revenue ad for you. For some schools, you may look at that and you may go, that makes sense for us because we can put that in our birthday party packages and we can upsell for our birthdays and things like that. There may be some great ideas that you can take and that you can execute. But what I would encourage everyone to do is really look at your core martial art business first and decide, are you maximizing and find out, because if you don't know what you don't know, right? You may not be maximizing your core martial art business. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were talking about opening up a second location. Well, their average student value, which we won't get into that, but their average student value is around $140 is their average student value, and they're not nearly at capacity for their school. So the answer is, well, let's go open another location so we can generate more revenue. And it just does not work that way. And the goal is to become systematic in your main school, number one, your first school, maximize your student capacity, maximize your student revenue. And then once you're there, now if you want to start looking for ancillary programs, you can do that. But otherwise, what happens is you're trying to put a Band-Aid on something and go, well, our student value is 150, but if I put in this program and then we add classes for this, then if we do this over here, and if we do this, and we're trying to like duct tape all this stuff together, right, to make a system that spits out a $200 student value, and you don't need all those other things, you need a foundation in your business, and you need business systems to do that. And I think that's what people, when we talk about like shiny object syndrome, right? And by the way, I was guilty of that for years, and still am if I'm not careful and ask myself the questions or get asked the questions, which is why it's always important to have a mentor or a friend to say, hey, have you thought about this? And it gets you thinking differently. Well, why would you do that if you haven't maximized your core business yet? Well, that's a really good point, so there's different things to think about. And I think, I have one, and I think it's a great idea, by the way. Years ago, do you remember that big bounce house years ago that they had at the SuperShow? Right?
Yep.
Freaking awesome. I mean, I bought that bounce house at the SuperShow. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great for partners in education. We can give it to them for the schools. And it is. It's absolutely great. But sometimes we don't think things through. Well, number one, the thing weighed 400 pounds, right? So it's not something that you're going to go and you're just going to go and load it up and throw it in the back of your car and bring it to the deal. So now you're looking at, you need a trailer, you got to do this, you got to do that. Someone's got to be there to set it up. Someone's got to take it down. Well, you think about the insurance that goes along with it. Like, these are all examples. Like, listen, we've done a lot of things, right? And not to say that's not a great investment. It absolutely can be. But you need to think things through a little bit and go, okay, well, what does that mean long term? And what are the other things that go along with this? And so, it is. You're going to see a lot of people. Everyone, look, at the end of the day, the vendors that are at the SuperShow, they have a product or a service that they're, number one, just like us, trying to sell you, right? They're trying to sell you because they believe that their product or service is great for what you do. And it absolutely could be, but just make sure that you're looking at it from the right perspective and it doesn't match what you're trying to accomplish. And in some cases, does it match the culture of what you're trying to accomplish in your school as well? Because, sometimes we're trying to, put a round peg into a square hole, so to speak, or a square peg in a round hole, I guess the expression is. And it's not always in the best interest of our school. So at the end of the day, I think it's important to really, I was just going to give you way too much credit. There's a few things Metzger has told me over the years. There's a lot, right? But there's a few things. But I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, right, is the power of asking questions. And it's something that I've heard from Tony Robbins, but it's been like drilled into my head for Metzger for years. You have to ask questions. We all know the quality of our life is based off the quality of questions that we ask ourselves, but also it's, what are you doing as far as asking questions of others and of other people? And I think the power of questions is important. And so while you're at that, if you go to the SuperShow, if you don't go to the SuperShow and you're thumbing through the magazine or you get an ad or you get an email, ask yourself questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask, then reach out to somebody else and say, hey, what are your thoughts about this? And the question might be, I might ask you, well, why do you want to do it? What's the reason, right? And I think this is also why you see so many martial art social media marketing companies that are excelling, right? Because what is the mantra for every one of them? More students, 60 students in 60 days, 90 students in 90 days. And everybody believes that is the end all be all, and I just need more students. We all need more students. There's no question, right? But that's not the only piece of the puzzle. We also have to have the business systems to maximize the revenue on those students. Because like he said, Our goal is, as coaches and consultants, is to maximize your martial art business, not to make it good, not to make it really good, but to maximize the potential in your school. So
And
those are
hey,
here for.
and here I'm going to throw this out there. I mean, and you got to just recognize it, right? Um, I don't like working hard if I think there's an easier way to do something, right? I don't like to work hard if I think there's an easier way. So even as a kid, if it was as simple as my mom saying, "Hey, we need to clean the house, this, that, and the other," it might take me an hour to do my portion of the house, but I'll take 3 hours strategizing on how I can get it done in a half an hour before I just do the work for an hour, right? I think where that has helped me out in this industry or in business, and I'll answer your question there, Mr. Walls, is sorry, uh, we have fun in the office. Is I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I get to the school at 10 a.m. and I'm there till 10 p.m. and we're working." And here's the thing: don't overwhelm yourself with so much work. There's I'm going to repeat this, and you guys, if you've been watching the show, you've heard me say this before. If you're in business, in our business, there's 3 things you need to do. You need to recruit new students, retain the students you have, and you need to know how to generate revenue. Now, in each of those things, there are subcategories, right? So, well, how do you recruit new students? We could list 100 different things you can do to recruit new students. When you go to the SuperShow, you might hear somebody speak about, "Hey, we do this where we get students," and you're going to be like, "Man, that sounds great." And you're going to do that. And then you're going to go hear another speaker and they have this great buddy system, and you're going to do that. And then you're going to go and hear somebody that has another, like, "Hey, mailers are coming back and we're mailing out," and you're going to do that. And what you're not realizing is slow down, look at your stats and say, what is it that I currently do that gets me the most students? The other thing you got to recognize is if you say, "Well, nothing, I'm getting 3 new students a month," no, nothing. Well, you got to start doing something, right? So you got to recognize if you're really just not doing anything. But when you start doing 10 different things, it overwhelms you. It overwhelms your staff, your people. Motivation will go down because you'll spend a lot of hours doing things that yield a low result. You got to recognize areas that you spend time in that get you a big result, and stop doing 8 of the 10 things and just do the 2 things that really get big results. Take all of your time that you were spending doing all of this, and let's just do 2. And then let's just do 2 to retain students, and let's just do 2 things that we are really good at understanding how to generate revenue. And I use that as an example because when you go to the SuperShow, Tass, you know this, people will come up to us on the last day and be like, "Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Look at this." Like, you show us pages of notes, right? And that's impressive. But what I know is you're not going to do anything with 80% of those notes. You're not going to do anything with that. The first thing I tell people is when you have pages of notes, take it back. If it's you by yourself, if you're a single school operator, go through your notes and put it into bullet point form, and then highlight 1 or 2 things that you want to start implementing immediately in your school and put everything else away. Just start getting that implemented and focus on that. And then once that becomes a system, and if it's working for you, let's look through your notes again and highlight 2 other things. I mean, if the SuperShow is once a year, there is no rush. You don't have to go and change everything when you get back to your school. And that's a big problem I see with people. So, but going back to the hours, go ahead, Tass.
Well, I was just going to say, you're talking about that, and I want to be clear because you're speaking something. I don't want to say it's controversial or contradictory, but old school you would hear people say, "I can't show you one way to get 10 students, but I can show you 10 different ways to get a student each," right? And please understand that that's a concept, right? That's a concept. And so what Metz is saying is this is like, if you, when you, like, and he said it, when you look at your marketing efforts, you're going to realize the majority. I did this yesterday, just case in point. I did this yesterday. I had an instructor boot camp for our 14 to 18-year-olds, right? Black belts. I had 8 people there. And I went around the room yesterday. I said, do you remember how you got started? Dude, 6 of the 8, 6 of the 8 were from 2-week courses in the elementary. 6 of the 8. The other 2 were website searches, right? That was it. That's how they heard about us. Now, have we done other things? Of course we've done other things. But it was just very eye-opening and interesting to me that 6 of the 8 people in that room were part of 2-week courses with us. So, and they were black belts, right? So I also believe that we don't take enough time to dive deep on those things that are really working and make them work better. We're just scratching the surface on some of those things. So if you really take time and you dive in deep, you're going to uncover some other additional things that you can do to maximize those results and make those results exponential.
And look, because we're not in a seminar and I'm not giving the whole picture. The thing is, for example, number one, that's right. Show me 10 things to do to yield 1 student, and right, so I can get 10 students. That's for people who don't keep track of stats, number one, and know where their people are coming from, number one. Number 2, once you make something a system and it's part of your everyday routine, now we can add something else. I mean, I got a department here basically just for social media marketing, right? Or you can hire outside companies and this, that, and the other. Well, that's one thing. But if you're a single school operator, or if you don't have the time or the budget, you got to be very careful not to overwhelm yourself. And when you're working, you got to find out what really works efficiently to get you recruiting, retaining, or revenue. And then as you get that and you can hire a team member, we talk about this. This is the seminar format. Don't hire for convenience, hire for
Uh-oh.
then you're back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. And you want to do better with retention? Okay, well, maybe I can have them start doing, more MIA calls. But I've had people tell me, sir, I'm so upset. I didn't get to all of my postcards. I didn't mail out all the postcards for people who have been absent. But I made the calls, I called them. I scheduled mat chats. I said, who cares? I said, why are you overwhelming yourself?
I didn't get the newsletter done.
So yeah, I didn't get the newsletter done. Slow down. And by the way, is retention even a problem? Like, right. We got to look at that. Is it even a problem? If we don't have a problem, keep doing whatever it is you're doing and maintain. Don't come back with 50 more things to improve your retention rate if your retention rate's 2% or your attrition rate, So like, focus, and you need to know your numbers, and that's the other part that comes worrying. Now, what do I think owners should avoid when listening to other consultants and trainers? I think you should avoid what Taz said, the shiny objects, the next newest thing. I'm not saying you should avoid it, but you should evaluate it. You should evaluate everything that they say. Don't avoid anything. Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, because you will get some good ideas, right? But it's not to stack more on your plate. It's, well, what do I think I can eliminate and plug in that might be better? And unfortunately, you got to test it. So I would say to that person, well, how long have you been doing this? What schools how many schools do you have? I have 1 school. Are other schools doing this, or is this something you're teaching? Well, no, not yet. That's why I'm sharing with everyone, because it works great for me. Well, what's your density of where you're at? What's your clientele? How many students do you have? What do you charge? What are you grossing over there? I need to know. I need to get information, right? But by the way, this is what we do as consultants. We talk to our clients. We'll have a client tell us, for example, sir, I'm doing $25,000 a month, now higher, 30 plus, $25,000 a month in private lessons. Okay, let's stop. How are you doing that? What are you doing? And then I became the student, because I'm not doing $25,000 a month in private lessons in one location, by the way. So 10 years ago, I said, you got to tell me, what are you doing? How are you doing it? So then I bring it back. We try to implement it in our 7 locations, or at the time 10 locations, right? Um, and then we see that it's working, and then we start teaching it to other clients. We see that it's working. Now I know we have a system, right?
Right.
So these are things that we do, right? And then, by the way, if you're a single school operator and you're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to fit it in. If you're doing 25,000 a month in private lessons, you can hire another black belt or instructor to do private lessons, right? If you can't fit it in, or if you have a full-time job. We got, again, that's where we feel that we're good, is being efficient and maximizing profitability in your martial arts school. And I got to think that if you're in this business, you want to make more revenue. You want to make it easier because you want to have a lifestyle. But I'm very conscious that it's not just for the owner, it's for the staff too. They want a lifestyle too, and they want to be able to make a living. And we got to provide good quality. We got to provide value to the community. If you're not doing that, you're not going to last forever. You're just not.
I think that's too. I say we as Maya, right, and as consultants have gotten from some a bad rap over the years, right? And the bad rap is, well, they're the stiff guys over in the suits over there, right? As an example, or they're doing stuff from 20 years ago, right? So it's not sexy, it's not shiny, right? To some people, because that's what other people, by the way, are using for their marketing. Say, hey, do this because these guys over here have been doing the same old systems for the last 15, 20 years. Well, number one, when the same old systems are producing results, you continue to use the same old systems, right? And it's not that we're stagnant by any means, because we're constantly evolving and growing and tweaking those systems to make them better and better and better and maximize. As an example, we used to talk about, student value. Your student value should be $185 a month. You're right. So if you take your total gross revenue, divide it by your active count, that number should be at least 185. Well, that's what we used to say, and that's no after school, no summer camp. Just for clarity, pull those numbers out. Well, now that number, over the years, we've watched it, and because the systems have gotten tighter, and because we've learned how to maximize things and tweak things, well, that number is 215. You should have a student value of $215. Well, how does that happen? Like, just because of inflation and because we raised our rates? No, not at all. Because we continue to tweak and maximize the systems over time. So, I always love it when people say, well, the systems they're using are archaic. And I'm not saying everybody says this, right? But there's all different levels of people that come to the Super Show. There's people who just started their schools. And some of the things that we're going to say, I'll be honest, as a consultant, sometimes I'm like, how do you not know this? Like, how is it possible that you don't know these basic things, right? Well, I didn't either when I first started. Sometimes we forget. And so there's a lot of opportunity for learning. But then there's people that have come to the Super Show and they've been there for 15 years. And a lot of them still struggle because they're following the shiny object. And this year it's this, and next year it's that, and next year it's this. And they're cycling through all these things, as opposed to bringing it back to what I said before, getting focused on the core business and maybe realizing, what got me to where I am today isn't going to get me to where I want to go. What do I need to do? And what am I missing in the core business of what it is that we do, right? And so I think those are some important things. And the other thing I spoke about yesterday with the instructors that were there at our little boot camp, and this I got from Metzger as well, is like, if you want to be successful, right, there's 4 things that you need to be successful. Number one, you have to learn how to be successful. So maybe that's why you're on here. Maybe that's why you're going to the Super Show. Maybe that's why you read the articles or you go to seminars and events. You're trying to learn how to be successful, which is awesome, right? The first investment that you should have should always be back into yourself and back into your business. You need to invest that time to learn to be successful. Step 2, and by the way, there's a lot of people that do that. Step 2, I've added on a little bit to Metzger's deal, but step 2 was execute what you learn, right? And I would say this: execute what you learn at lightning speed, right? Because sometimes it takes us a really long time before we actually implement. And there is no question with the clients that we have, the clients that execute quickly are the clients that have the best results. Period. End of story. So you got to execute at lightning speed. Then number three, and sometimes we try and skip from one and we try to go to three, right? So step three is you have to teach others how to learn to be successful. But sometimes we haven't executed those things yet, and we're just trying to tell other people what to do and then have them go do those things. And of course, delegation is important. You have to delegate things, but you also have to go through the process and understand how it works. So, teaching others, whether that's your team, right? Your team or your staff or your assistants or leadership students, whoever it is, you have to teach them how to learn how to be successful. And step four is probably the hardest. And that is you have to teach others to execute what they learn at lightning speed. And those are the four steps of being successful, whether that's in the martial art business or anything that you do. That's how you become extremely successful. And the faster you can get through that process and really understand and do that with everything that you do, you're going to see that work that you put in is going to generate results for you. So back to what Matt said before, all those notes, all the things that you come back with a SuperShow, 80%, 90% of people are going to get caught up in paralysis of analysis, right? They're going to overanalyze and what should I do and when do I do this? And they're going to do zero. They're going to be on a high from the SuperShow, and then that high is going to start to do this over time. No different than when a student comes in for an intro, they happen to break a board, they get excited, and then over time, if they don't enroll, that interest starts to go back down. It's just human nature, and that's going to happen. And so instead, you've got to do that, create that bullet point list, pick the one or two things that you are committed to executing and implementing at lightning speed, and do that and get it going the way you want it, and then go back, and then you can execute more as you go. So I think that's important, for people to get as well. This is not rocket science, but we get caught up in the busy every day, and we forget to just take action on the right things, and we do the feel good things. We clean the bathrooms, we clean the mirrors, we mop the mats, we make sure everything's tidy, and all those things need to happen in your school. But that's not going to get you to the next level.
It's not. Listen, you got to understand, and that's about direct and indirect. What's the word I'm looking for? Direct impact or an indirect impact on your business. You can have the cleanest empty school in America. It can be the cleanest, smell the best, but you go out of business. You got to take care of certain things first and prioritize. And also, I want to just ask, just put in the comment, who is going to the SuperShow? Who will we see next week? Let us know if you're going to the SuperShow, and we'll see you next week. But I want to go back on something you said, Tass. Systems are archaic. Like maybe some people think our systems are archaic, or it's the other consultant companies or some that have said that, right? Because that's marketing for them. They want to say, hey, we got new ways of doing things. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And our systems are not archaic, but the tasks might be. You might hear that, if I tell you that we have people that consistently sign up 5 people a month because they know how to properly do a buddy day, let's say, and it takes 0 effort to do that once a month, and you're getting 5 new students, buddy days are archaic. But obviously, there's a different way of doing a buddy day, right? The reason why you don't hear other people do buddy days is because buddy days don't work for them. So does that mean buddy days don't work? Right? I just met with my good friend Dean Thomas. Let me tell you what's archaic. Let me give you an example. I just had dinner with Dean. Dean does commentary for the UFC. He's an ex-UFC fighter, but he was just on the last pay-per-view. He does the commentary and stuff, and with Cormier and Rogan, and they throw it to Dean and stuff. We've been friends for 25 years, and he was just in town. And I don't know how it got brought up, but he doesn't swim. He goes, I don't swim, man, I sink. Well, imagine if he started telling the world swimming doesn't work. You'll drown, right? Maybe it just doesn't work for him. Maybe we can show him some techniques to keep him afloat, right? But my point is, that's the same in our industry. By the way, Tass, do you see all the people coming to the Super Show?
Yes, it'll be great. Look forward to not seeing you guys.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be lonely in our booth. That's
And
all
then,
right.
especially when we're walking down the hall and you ignore everybody, we're going to have less people at the booth because everyone's going to think you're pompous.
We'll watch TikTok videos.
Oh, perfect.
So thank you guys for participating on whether or not I know it's a hard question if you're coming to the Super Show. Guys, do you remember step 2? Execute at lightning speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you coming to the Super Show, folks? I mean, it's yes, I am. No, I'm not.
Or just yes or no. If you want to, if you don't like to work harder, Matt, just real simple yes, or even better, Y or N if you want to.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Mandy, we're gonna miss you.
Oh man.
Oh man. Ernie, enjoying the show today? I don't know. I'm a little self-conscious with these HD cameras. I got a text from Ernie saying my hands look really hairy.
Well, they don't look hairy. They are, everybody.
These aren't hands. These are now qualified paws.
That's right. That's right. Are they registered? Oh,
so, Tass, maybe we'll just hang out in the booth. You can brush my fingers.
I'll bring the gel. We'll make mohawks. It'll be great.
Oh, my Lord. Well, Mr. Walls was driving. You were, but can't now. We're going to miss you. And Mr. Maddox. I mean, okay. So, hey, guys, good news. I don't need you anymore coming to the Super Show. You guys get to stay home. No one's coming.
Oh, man.
Well, guys.
But listen, and I think we said this a couple weeks ago too, but for those of you that watch the replay, or if anybody you on here that are
no one watches the replay.
Right, nobody watches. I know.
They don't even watch the whole show.
Right. But if you are, and we don't happen to know you, please make sure you stop and introduce yourself to us. We'd love to meet you guys in person, face to face. It's always hard to tell, who everybody is behind the screen. So, contrary to popular belief, Metzger is pompous, but once you meet him, you'll be fine. He's not.
It'll be reinforced. You'll come in there with that belief. By the way, I am not pompous. Just introduce yourself to Tass first, and then he'll come over and let me know if you're a weirdo or not.
Yeah, he's not pompous. He's just selective in who he likes to talk to.
I'll be sitting in the back. Please don't approach me. Oh, man. Guys.
Mr. Lockett watches the replay. See?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Good.
Lockett.
Yeah.
Well.
No, it'll be fun, man. I mean, it's always, do I dare say it's exhausting, right? It is exhausting. And it's exhausting because, we are in that booth and the mission, the goal is to help anybody and everybody that we can. So those people that stop by, we're going to help you. We're going to have conversations with you. And some of you are exhausting, just like I was exhausting the Metzger for 2.5 hours, 11 years ago when I sat in that booth and talked to him. I was exhausting to him, and his voice was gone at the end of the weekend. And he finally just threw his hands up and said, "Look, I can help you. It's up to you whether or not you want to do it or not." And and the other thing is decisions, right? Decisions. A yes or a no decision can change the trajectory of your life in that very, very small moment. So, we're happy to be there. We're happy to help. We are going to have fun. We're going to have a great time. We're going to, give out great information. We're going to help you as much as we can help you. And, but if you're asking for help, here's what I'll say. Number one, be willing to be helped, right? And you got to be willing. So you're not going to tell us, I don't think, anything that we haven't heard. You're not going to tell us anything we haven't heard. So, we're happy to help you guys best that we can and have fun in the process. So if that's a shiny object, then, you may want to stay away, but our goal is to have fun and maximize your school.
That's it. We're there to help. I'm looking forward to it. And I look forward to seeing none of you people there because you won't be there. But anyone who's going, it'll be a good show. We will miss some of you guys, and I know it's tough, especially now we pushed it back. I mean, we had to push it back a little later in July here, this year, but should be a great show. Should be a great show. So looking forward to it. We'll see everybody soon. And next Thursday, I don't think we're going to be on next Thursday, as we'll be flying back from the Super Show, right?
Right on.
So, all right, Tass.
All right. Good seeing you. Looking forward to seeing you in a few days. 2 days, Friday, Saturday, man. It's gonna be,
man. Yep.
be fast.
Yep.
So,
See you soon. And
all right, buddy.
Perry, if you're on here, I have no idea how to sign off, so I'm just going to hang out.
You can just hit the little X tab at the top, and I think you'll exit out.
Ryan,
That's on. Oh my! Here we go.
help me.